Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crilly. I'm back with another one of my question and answer videos, and today I'm going to be challenging myself, as I often do. I'm challenging myself to do something weird artistically, and today it's going to be finger painting. I'm going to challenge myself to paint a picture with just my finger and watercolor paint, okay? And before we get underway, a couple of things. I want to say that, I know a lot of you are hoping to see your question answered in this video. Please keep in mind there were 3,200 comments on my video that requested questions, plus more questions on my Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram, and so there's an awful lot of questions to choose from. I'm only going to be able to do 10 full-length questions plus 10 lightning round super fast questions. So if I miss answering your question, I do apologize. But I saw, I read them all, and I saw some really great questions. It was tricky to choose. I'm going to begin, let's start by dipping my finger into water and I'm going to do a painting of a bird using my pointer finger here and see if I can pull this off. This is, I haven't done finger painting since I was a little child, so this is certainly going to be an interesting challenge. The first question, or comment, both really, comes from a most unusual place in terms of it being almost plucked from the headlines. And this question is, Mark, greetings from Ukraine, Crimea. But if you're reading this message, we maybe will be part of Russia, which is sad. But anyway, this is my question for you. Should artists be politicized? Should he or she struggle his position in works, pictures, or must art be cut off from all this stuff? Well, wow, what a question! What an experience for me to get a question from someone who's actually in the Ukraine. As you all know, the country is undergoing a lot of turbulent changes and struggles right now, and my channel is not a political channel. It's not my, it's not up to me to weigh in with political views or anything. But the more I thought about it, I thought, man, I've got to feature this question. It's a good question, first of all, but just to me, what an experience to know that someone actually in the Ukraine has been watching my videos and decided to post this question. So to answer about, should artists be politicized, there's a long tradition of artists throughout history being political, having political messages. But I would say it comes down to you and your own instincts, and then, of course, a secondary concern, or maybe the major concern really, is if you are in a country where doing political art is going to get you into trouble, then it becomes a really, really tough question. I mean, I look at myself and I imagine, would I have the guts to do political art if I were in a country where I could get arrested, or imprisoned for doing art with a political message? Knowing myself, I don't know if I would have the guts, frankly, to be that kind of an artist. But sometimes, there's a tradition of artists sort of sneaking in political messages in such a way that they can't quite be, recognized 100%. So I suppose there's a middle ground between those two extremes. But I just want to say to Misfito99, who asked that question, I hope that you are well, that you and your family and friends there in Crimea are doing okay. And I really feel that, generally speaking, the big problems in the world are between governments, not between the people, of these individual countries. I always feel like if you could just get ordinary people together to sit down and have lunch together or whatever, they wouldn't have these issues. They probably would enjoy one another's company. So anyway, I wish you all the best, and I hope that things work out for the people of the Ukraine, of the Crimea, indeed for the people of Russia. I wish you all the best. Let's move on now to the second question. This one comes from a goth named Wednesday, although I wondered if it should be Wednesday, the way it's spelled. But anyway, here's the question. What is your favorite scene from each of your stories, i.e. Brody's Ghost, Miki Falls, etc.? Well, let me go grab those books and I can show you a couple of my favorite scenes. Okay, well, here's a scene from Miki Falls Winter, the fourth and final book in that series, and I can't take you through the whole scene because there's a bit of a surprise twist in it, but I'll set it up for you. They are up on the mountains, Hiro and Miki, and at this moment it's just Miki alone in this tent, and she's resting, and she sees these shadowy figures, and she realizes that she has this crossbow with her, and as the scene progresses, she loads the crossbow, and she sees someone leaning down here to unzip the tent, and it builds up to this, moment of tension. Of course, I, used the page turn, and I'm not going to give it away, but I enjoyed how this scene turned out and how I was able to sort of create this feeling of intense danger. And yeah, I won't give away what happens next, but that was one of my favorite scenes from Miki Falls. And this next one actually has a connection to my internet presence in a way. In Brody's Ghost Book 3, sorry for the glare there, there is a scene where Brody is posing as a police investigator. And I had this idea that he would get his own name wrong. He would forget the fake name that he had given the woman. And I'll just read the scene for you. Hang on, I'll zoom in here. He says to the woman, "Please, ma'am, call me Alex." And she says, "But I thought you said your name was Alec." And then, of course, he's shocked at his own mistake, and he says, "I often go by my middle name, Alex. Alec Alexander Jablonski." It's weird, I know. And I just enjoyed the comical aspect of that. But this idea of the fact that Alec could be confused with Alex, I put that question out, I think, to people on Facebook and Twitter, and I said, can you give me two names that sound similar and might be confused? And this one young woman on Twitter gave me the idea of Alec and Alex, and I'm so sorry that I've forgotten your name, but if you're watching, I thank you once again. I know I replied and thanked her at that time and told her that was almost certainly the one that I would end up using. But I feel kind of happy that someone out there helped me out in figuring out the proper names, and it did. It served me well in terms of adding a little extra joke to this longer scene, which I enjoy from beginning to end, actually, in terms of favorite scenes. I was happy how this whole one turned out. Anyway, let's get on to the next question. Okay, so this question is from Lunare Sage. I hope I'm saying that right. And the question is, have you ever had to deal with carpal tunnel or repetitive strain injury before? That's a great question, and I'm pretty sure that's never been asked before in any of these videos. No, I've never actually had full-blown carpal tunnel syndrome. There was a time when I came a little close to it, and oddly enough, it wasn't from drawing. It was from when I needed to do the lettering on a comic book. And I sort of unwisely, this was back in the 90s, I just had decided to hand letter this comic rather than using a font, which was still fairly common in those days. But anyway, I had unwisely decided to just put all the lettering off until the end. I did all the artwork, and then I waited until the end of the project, and I said, well, now I'll just go through and do all the lettering. Well, there is something about hand lettering that uses certain muscles in your hand pretty intensely, and I didn't really realize that. And boy, by the time I got even halfway into this comic I was working on, I was really starting to suffer. I could feel it in my wrist. Unfortunately, I was under deadline. I had to get this thing done, and so that was that was a lesson learned. If you're ever hand lettering a big project like that, my advice to you: don't put it all off till the end, and try to stagger that aspect of the job and do other things in between. But otherwise, I've been lucky. I've never really had that. Sometimes clicking the mouse on a computer repeatedly for certain work but I switch between left and right when I'm doing a lot of mouse, clicking type of work, and I find that saves me from developing anything even near to. But I've heard from artists like Jill Thompson, who does Scary Godmother and a great many other great comic books. I know that she has actually had full-blown carpal tunnel at one point. This was years ago, but I remember, she had to have this brace on her wrist and so forth. It could be a terrible thing, I'm sure, as an artist, to temporarily lose your ability to draw because of that. Anyway, I'm pretty sure she hasn't had any issues like that since then. Let's move on to question number 4. This one's going to be fun to answer. It's from Brian Rivera. How do you make a plot twist? How do you make a plot twist? That's a great question, and it's something, writing stories is a big part of what I do, and it's something I enjoy a lot, and unfortunately there isn't a whole lot of, visual aspects to doing videos in which I talk about writing. But anyway, I got a chance right now to devote some of this video to talking a little bit about writing and about the idea of a plot twist. Now, I have found, and I was not that good at plot twists early in my career, I didn't really know how they were done. I have found as time went on that for me, the creation of a plot twist involves a certain amount of what I would call reverse engineering. And you kind of know where you're going from the beginning, and then you work backwards to tell the story in such a way that the reader doesn't know this crucial piece of information that you are going to reveal later on. And so you have carefully hidden that piece of information. Now, to make it a little more specific, let's just say as an example, and this is hardly an original idea, but let's say you want to tell a story about revenge. Some kid was tormented as a child, and he remembered the name of that guy who picked on him so much, and 30 years later, he was going to get his revenge. Okay, so that's your story. Now, if you want a plot twist, you don't tell the story from the point of view of the kid who got picked on. Indeed, you don't begin the story with a scene that reveals that ever happened. If I were trying to create a plot twist based on that concept, I would begin the story telling it from the point of view of the guy who had done the bullying. And this seems to be his story. That event of picking on that kid was not a big deal to him. He barely even remembers it. He's almost forgotten that. Then you introduce a guy early on in the story who becomes his buddy. And this guy seems so nice, right? And you as a writer, you just try your best to not tip your hand. You don't give the reader any reason to think that this guy is anything other than just the salt of the earth, wonderful new friend that this guy has made. And then, near the end of the story, that's when the big twist comes, and you find out. Now, in order for it to work as a twist, there has to be some revelation in a very quiet way early in the story that some bullying took place. You can't have it come out of nowhere. But you sort of sneak that in there in a real casual way. And then, and only then, do you reveal the connection between these two people. And a lot of times a plot twist does involve a connection between two people that the reader or the viewer of the movie or whatever it is, was not privy to. You didn't allow them to know what that connection is. Of course, you as the writer always knew that connection. I mean, George Lucas always knew the connection between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Spoiler alert! Hopefully everyone knows that twist by now. He always knew that connection, but he hid it from us very carefully. So anyway, that's my advice on creating a plot twist in your story. This is the trickiest part, what I'm doing right now. The feet, the legs, because it needs to be kind of thin. And part of the reason I chose this subject of the bird was in a way to avoid having to do too much detail. I thought just the shape and a couple of basic colors could convey a bird pretty well. Anyway, let us keep moving. This one from Ite Levenstein. I wanted to ask if you've ever drawn someone else's creation. Well, as a matter of fact, I have. Let me go ahead and grab that book. So here's this book, The Enormous Egg, which was written back in the 50s by Oliver Butterworth. And, I'm sorry if I've talked about this before. I've done so many of these Q&A videos. I fear I may be repeating myself, answering a question I already answered. But this is an example of an illustration. As I said, it was written by this man, Oliver Butterworth, back in the 50s. And they hired me to re-illustrate it, to do new illustrations. This one is sort of interesting, especially for those of you who are curious to see my, what I would call non-manga style. The way these faces are drawn, there's a little bit of, I suppose, a touch of manga influence there, but more of like an American cartooning style, I think, in a lot of ways. But that was a very fun project, and that's really the only time in my career thus far, maybe once or twice, have I been asked to illustrate something that I did not write. But thanks for that question. And let's move on to the next one. Oh, I'm going to have to grab books for this one as well. This question comes from The Crack Fox with 5 X's. 4 just... It wasn't enough. You need 5 X's for that name. Do you ever add hidden images or words in your finished work, like the words in this video? And in case some of you don't understand that reference, when I want to get questions for these videos, I will make a sort of pre-video video in which I ask people to, please give me your questions. And I have started a tradition in recent videos of hiding a message in those videos by, highlighting certain letters, and if you string them all together, they spell something. I won't give it away, what was in this latest video, but if you go back and you see, you can kind of find them by their thumbnails. If you go through my previous, they're the videos that just have writing text, mostly you can just see that it's one of those videos. And if you watch those videos, they're very short, you'll see what I'm talking about by these sort of hidden messages. Well, I don't use text in that way in my comics, but I do have Easter eggs, that kind of thing. And so I thought what I would do is, again, give me a second, I'll grab an example, probably Brody's Ghost, I think, to show you how I have sometimes hidden Easter eggs in the artwork of my comic books. Okay, so this is from Brody's Ghost, Book 2, and those of you who have the book, you may remember this scene where he's heading off to do battle with the bad guys, and way up here in the corner is a sign that, well, let's zoom in so you can get a better look at it. Yeah, still a little hard to see the details of it, but it is a little Easter egg reference to a podcast that I enjoy called Film Spotting. So I snuck that in there, and then I sent a couple of copies off to the guys in Chicago who do this podcast. It's a really great podcast. If you enjoy hearing people discuss film, you should check it out. And like me, they launch a new one every week. Keep it to a schedule there. So I'm a big podcast fan, so every once in a while I will sneak in a little shout-out like that to some of my favorite podcasts. Okay, so back to the questions here, and this one from Chingolandia X. Do you think manga anime is growing or dying in our culture? This one I have to assume is talking about, when they say our culture, maybe America, North America. It's an interesting question. I may have answered this before, but it's sort of changing year by year. I would have said that it was as popular as ever a couple of years ago, but I do sort of feel like it may be slipping a little in terms of popularity. Like when I look at DeviantArt, DeviantArt was very clearly dominated by manga or anime-style illustrations. In recent years, I'm seeing a lot of other stuff. I'm seeing Disney, I'm seeing... just different styles are starting to give some competition, I would say, to manga and anime as an art style in terms of winning the devotion of the hearts and minds of young people, which is probably a good thing. You never want to have one style that dominates completely. I do believe, I would not say that it's dying in our culture. No way. I think manga and anime will remain popular in a very strong way, for the indefinite future. There's just something so appealing about that style. I don't think there's any danger of it like dying out. We don't have to get so extreme about that. But it is sort of interesting. I'm always keeping an eye on these things. In terms of to what degree, what art styles interest the people of right now. I'm always sort of curious about that. Anyway, let's move on. We're getting nearer to the end of these full-length questions. Number 8, from Alwasam, I think, FC. What are some of your favorite memories of living in Taiwan? Great question. I don't know if everyone knows that I lived in Taiwan for altogether about 2.5 years. Was there from 1988 until 1990, and then again from 93 through 94. Boy, I just loved Taiwan so much. You know, it's mostly the people. The people of Taiwan are so friendly, and I have so many memories of just sort of, I was sitting in a cafe or a restaurant, and a total stranger would come up and just say, hi, you know, here, let me buy you a coffee or something, you know, and just such friendliness to foreigners that I pretty much have not encountered. I know there are other countries that are like this, but in my personal experience, I've never experienced such sort of warmth from total strangers and generosity, you know, and just sort of fascination with you in advance, no matter who you are, curious to talk to you. And yes, surely sometimes it's about practicing English, and some Americans can get annoyed by that, but I was never. I loved the fact that you could meet total strangers and make friends that way. But what else can I say? Loved the food, of course. And it was a time in my life, you know. I was in my early 20s. I had just finished college. I was kind of going out into the world for the first time, as most people kind of have to do after you finish school. And what a sort of double whammy, in a way, to be going out into the world of the non-college world, but into the larger world of the entire Earth, and experiencing this, you know, the great culture of China, of Taiwan, all at once. It was just, and at that time in my life, it's just, I always have very fond memories of that. So I don't know if that was the best answer to that question, but shout out to any Taiwanese people out there. I really do love your homeland. It's just, will always have a special place in my heart. Number 9, from Amanda Zimmerman. Does drawing ever become boring, especially because you draw the same characters over and over again? Good question. I got to watch myself. I always say, good question. But I try to pick the good questions, so they all end up being good questions, I suppose. But anyway, I do. There are some drawing tasks that become a bit of a chore, but for me, it doesn't usually involve drawing the same characters over again. That never really gets all that boring for me. Although, you know, I mean, it's funny to say that, because if I think about Brody's Ghost or Miki Falls, I did quite literally draw these characters hundreds of times. You know, their faces and so forth. I never really do get tired of that, though. I think what is tiring for me is, like, if you're drawing a building that has all these windows on it, there's some sort of repetitive thing like that, where you just have to draw this same thing over and over again, and you're heading towards some larger effect that you know is going to be awesome in the end. But in the meantime, it is just incredibly, you know, sort of mind-numbingly boring to perform this drawing task. That's the kind of thing that will, kind of be boring for me. Hang on a second here. I'm noticing that the head of this bird is sort of not quite what I want it to be. Let's hope I don't ruin the drawing. And let's see, we got maybe one or two more questions. No, actually just one more of the feature-length questions. Number 10, from Alois Trancy. Hope I've got that right. Why are you obsessed with blushies? That is a perfectly legitimate question. It does seem that I'm somehow obsessed with blushies, but to plea for my own innocence, it's something that has kind of happened by way of YouTube, and viewers seeming so into this idea of me adding blushies. If you go, certainly in Brody's Ghost, I'm not constantly adding blushies to people's faces. It is not something that I am all that fascinated with, but it's, you know, you get these sort of in-jokes when you do YouTube videos, and people just started, don't forget the blushies. It just became a thing. So, but I'm not that obsessed with blushies. Come on, people. Not in my normal day-to-day life. I don't walk down the street drawing blushies on people's faces. It hasn't gone that far. Yet. Okay, it is time for
the lightning round.
And let's move on to these fast questions, which I have to remember to answer in a fast way. Otherwise, it's not really a lightning round, is it? But before that, let me sort of wash out my finger. That sounds weird. I need to wash out my finger because I want to make a drop shadow for this bird. And boy, this is going to be tough. I got to do quick answers to these questions while not forgetting to paint at the same time. So here's the first one from Lars Heskoff. Will you still be doing YouTube videos 10 years from now? Well, I certainly hope so. If YouTube is still around, if people are still watching my videos 10 years from now, I will definitely still be making them 10, 20, 30 years from now, if I'm still on the planet at that time. Number 2, from Sarah Brass. Dear Mark, do you know what color my socks are? Plaid. I'm going to go with plaid. Number 3, from Zero Loves Coffee. How do you like your coffee? You know, when I was younger, I used to put cream or sugar or whatever into my coffee. Starting around the age of 30, it has been black coffee. Just hot, black, strong coffee. That's all I want. I never put anything else into it. Let's go on to the next one. Number 4 from Amaterasu Mia. How does a turtle ride a bike whilst eating catnip with chopsticks? Very slowly. Very slowly. Let's go on to number 5. Alpha Art. Can you do French? Sorry about that, folks. I forgot once again to unplug my telephone. It rang and it ruined that last question answer. Let's go back and start that one more time. Alpha Art. Can you do French subtitles, please? Because you speak too fast, and I love your videos. Sorry. I can't do that. Number 6. Sonic Speedy 862. What's your favorite desert? I'm going to say the Sahara. Now, just in case this question was actually a typo and it was supposed to be what's your favorite dessert, well, we're in luck because the next question kind of allows me to answer that. And the question is from Abby Baker. Do you like pie? If so, what is your favorite? No question, my favorite pie is cherry pie. My mom makes a delicious cherry pie. I was in love with it as a kid, and I still am. Let's go on to number 8. Stargazer 012. What was your first job? My very first job, actually, was as a busboy. I don't know if everyone knows what that is, but it's the lowly servant at a restaurant who picks up the dirty dishes and carries them. Back to the kitchen. After that, I was a janitor's assistant in a grade school. Let's go on to the next one. Number 9, Anna H. Kajartans loves... Sorry about that. I thought I was about to say Anna H. Kajartans loves coffee, but that is a mistake from Zero Loves Coffee. Yeah, Crilly, what is with you? You clearly need coffee because you keep making mistakes. This one from Anna H. Kajartans. How many Icelandic viewers do you have? Well, the current population of Iceland is 322,000 people. I believe that 95% of them watch my videos, so that's about 305,900 people. I think we should round it up to 306,000. No, of course I'm joking. I have no idea how many Icelandic... If even 2 or 3 Icelandic people are watching my videos, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate your support. Go Iceland. Go Iceland. I love you. Let's go on now to number 10, my final question, and this one I got to take a deep breath. Do you enjoy the smell of wet dew in the morning, writing in your journal while drinking coffee, updating your Twitter, and taking long walks on the beach, searching for the seashell that describes your life? I enjoy all of those things. I do indeed, except possibly the seashell that describes my life. I have not yet taken part in that task. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go do that, and I'll get back to you. See if I enjoy it or not. Well, we have reached the end of yet another question and answer video, and I had a lot of fun doing this finger painting. It takes me back to those early childhood days. Oh, but I did come up with one thing that I wanted to do. Let's see if I can pull this off. And thank goodness I didn't forget. I am going to pull out the old white gouache. You all know how much I love white gouache, and I thought, even with my finger, if I'm very careful, I might be able to apply a little highlight to that eye, which I think would finish off this picture. So bear with me here. Sorry for the, I should be winding this down in a very quick way, but I'm going to try with my finger, do you see that? To just drop on a little highlight. Got to get it in just the right place, though. Ooh, there you go. What do you think, huh? Not bad. Not bad. Well, we are at the end of this video. Thank you so much to everyone who asked the questions. I really had a blast answering them. And yeah, give me another 2 or 3 months. I'll be back with another one of these Q&A videos. But for now, I'll just thank you one more time for watching the videos, for subscribing, for getting the books, those of you who choose to do that. I really do greatly, greatly appreciate your support. But let's wind this one down. I'll have to put down this finger. I'm going to lay down this finger. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be back with another one real soon.